Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 88 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr. It is December 7th, 2023, and for this feature, I have the Rochester, New York-based hard rock band Wicked as my guest. Wicked formed in 2011 and consists of Danny, Chad Michael, Scotty V, and Gunnar. During this conversation, we discuss Wicked's new single Sunburn, their past history, and future plans. I hope that you enjoy this interview. And here is Wicked. Before we get started, please subscribe to the Rock Interview Series. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and we have the band Wicked with us today. And hey guys, how you doing?
What's going on? How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing great. Really excited to talk to you guys. A lot going on in the world of Wicked. Let's start off with first of all, let's talk about what's going on tomorrow with you guys. You have a pretty big event going on. You're doing a live stream. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that?
Oh, we're super excited about this one. It's going to be called, or it's dubbed right now, the Rock and Roll Circus Show. So we're assuming it's going to turn into a multiple episode kind of cadence. But this first one is for us to interact globally with our fans and celebrate our single release tomorrow for Sunburn. We were like, the last single that we put out, Lost in the Dark, about a month ago, we did a show, like a traditional show, and at a record archive. It was really intimate and fun and high energy, but we had a great time with our local Rochester-based fans. We were like, let's switch it up every single and see how we could do something different. And this was our way of like opening up to like more of our global fan base.
Not just like our local fan base, but like global fan base, and getting it out to the people who can't make it to those intimate shows, make it a kind of a special thing for them as well, you know?
But it doesn't stop there. It's not just like any kind of live stream. We'll be on there interacting and everything, but we really made this like a variety show. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, so you get to step into a little bit of the day in the life. There's a performance piece and a whole bunch of other surprises that we're like so excited for everybody to see. So
behind the scenes details, all that kind of stuff. So be really excited to have you guys watching and digging into what we put into Sunburn.
And you're debuting your new release called Sunburn, the new single, I should say, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's coming out digitally tomorrow.
It'll be up at midnight tonight, actually.
On all platforms.
All platforms. And then Rock and Roll Circus Show starts at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the premiere of the music video starts at 8:30.
Yeah.
So be ready to watch.
We're super excited.
Yeah, so this is the second single that you've released for an upcoming record. First of all, tell us about the new record that's coming out, and when can we expect to see that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can't tell you any of that. No, so the record is going to be out in March timeframe, I'm going to assume.
It's going to be cool. We got a couple more singles leading up to it. And like Gunnar said, in March, the album's going to drop, and it'll be accompanied by a US Canada tour that we haven't announced yet. Just a little teaser. It's coming. And we're super excited to announce that piece of it once it fully materializes in the next couple of weeks. But that'll be great too, because we're like just hungry to get back on the road and like make our way around and see some new faces and familiar faces and celebrate some of the music we got to put out. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the first single that you put out, Lost in the Dark, I mean, that is like just a great single. I mean, if you're a fan of like good hard rock, inspired by the 80s, that's just a great throwback song.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We had a great time writing that one. We pulled some influences from a few different places, and we were kind of like expounding on some of the stuff that we had already done. Of course, like we're Thin Lizzy, influenced right to the core in a lot of the stuff that we do, but we were listening a little bit of 38 Special on that one, a lot of Toto, from some of the early albums, and and that stuff really seeped into that hard rock but like melodic approach there.
Yeah, that very 70s melodic type of rock with big chords,
Yeah.
Almost like in a sense like what Kiss did towards the late 70s as well. Like it's kind of cool, like how simple like a riff can be is way more, I would say, attractive to listen to, and it's easier to sing over. So we took a different approach. And even like with the singing, it was a lot different than what we normally do. I kind of like tailored it back a little bit and like put a little more emotion into it instead of just kind of like using all of my range, So it was really fun to kind of experiment with, those kind of different aspects of writing a song.
The interesting thing about your band is that, you guys are all pretty young, and you've drawn influences back from like the 70s and, things that, a lot of people like my age, grew up on. What led you to, discovering that type of music as opposed to like listening to music that maybe, some of the people that you hung out with listened to?
I mean, it's funny, like I say, like for me myself, like I grew up listening to like as a younger kid in like early like grade school, listening to like the punk rock bands of like the early 2000s, like Sum 41. So like you could kind of hear some of those influences kind of come through as well. But also like as we grew up, like Dean
You were lucky you had me. Like I remember like back in like early grade school, we had to do like a music class project and like do a report on, anything related to music, and everybody was doing their, classical, this and that. And somehow I heard TNT by AC/DC, like, and I was like starting digging into it and like learning about it and like just getting intrigued by that whole, sound and persona and everything. And it was over then,
well,
for me.
You started learning guitar and took a few lessons, and then your teacher kind of like open the world to like Van Halen, and then it kept going back from there. So it went from like the 80s, even going back further, and then we discovered a band called the Stars. I'm sure you might be familiar with, and then like from there, it's just like finding different bands that may have not been very mainstream, but like it very very much so like got us into like that like 70s style rock and roll.
Scotty grew up on
Aerosmith, like it's
right?
funny because you guys were, when you were younger in your teen years and stuff, were listening to more like the current stuff, like the 90s and early 2000s stuff. And I was raised on, like, my parents listened to like Megadeth, Aerosmith, and all that stuff. So I was raised on rock and roll, but I kind of wore it out so much when I was younger and in my earlier teens that now I'm the opposite. I'm getting into more of the 90s and stuff
Power
like
pop.
that, power pop stuff from that era.
I'm the same way too. Like I grew up with like Alice Cooper. My dad loves Thin Lizzy, so I was already a big Thin Lizzy fan. So it was like an easy transition. I wanted to play that stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't want to play any of the newer stuff that was coming out.
we like to tell people now, like, first time you come across somebody and they're like, oh, you're in a band, right? Like, what's your music like? I always say it's a blend between 70s rock and roll and 90s like power pop, like, just because we're 90s babies, that was what was going on, and we just have such an affinity and love for that old school rock and roll.
It's funny, everybody always, the first thing they say is 80s and stuff. Maybe it's the blonde hair or something, but none of us really listen to anything from the 80s. We're not really 80s people at all.
More of that raw rock and roll, like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Well, when you think about it, I mean, the 80s bands, all had that image, but they're all influenced by 70s bands.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
man. It just keeps paying it forward. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you was it difficult to kind of like, get people to give you any respect because of the fact that, a lot of people probably just brushed you off as just like an 80s wannabe band when there's a lot more if you dig down deep into your band?
Usually that is kind of the case at face value, like online or then before like a gig or something like that in like a venue or something. But then it's always after we play, they're like, oh shit, this is the real deal.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how people have to generalize things to like understand them, right? It's kind of like human nature. But like Scott said, I always look forward to that kind of thing because it's like a challenge, because you can't blame people for how they compartmentalize their feelings and thoughts. And it's always that old like saying of reading a book by its cover. But yeah, like then people will see a show and it's proof in the pudding. They're like, wow, this is really different. Like, I can't really say you sound exactly like this or that or anything. It's exciting. It's energetic. It's it's different. I could hear a little bit of this and that, but so I always love that. It's really exciting to like turn, you know, an audience onto you and see what they think later on once they see it.
It's funny. We were just talking about that yesterday. And then, you know, if you make fun of us, then we'll beat the shit out of you.
That is true, because I've actually like I said before earlier in the interview, I actually saw you guys throw down, and you guys were impressive with your fighting skills.
Try to be better.
Yeah, we're better now. Yeah.
So docile, domesticated rock stars.
We tried to calm down a little bit.
The great thing is the four of us live together like an old school band. So we, you know, it's been, you know, 7 years since we've been living under one roof, and, you know, we made a studio in our house, and, you know, we're always either having a good time together or working on our music. And I think like as the years go on, you learn hard lessons, you know, you learn different things and grow with each other, and you grow with your music. And, you know, the more and more time we get to spend together, like, it's just, we're having more fun, you know, we're more efficient. And we've got tons of room to grow. But it's been a fun journey, and we're just super excited to, you know, be fortunate enough to be able to do this together. So, yeah.
One of the cool things, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
One of the cool things about Sunburn is, in the whole album, and in particular, is that because we all live together, we built a studio in our basement here. We're actually sitting in the live room right now.
Yeah.
And everything you're going to hear on all these singles and on the release was recorded here. And we had our dear friend Nacho, who's a fantastic producer, 10 Grammy winning. And our first time we ever really met him, like besides small pleasantries, was he moved in here for like the whole summer, and we recorded it here down in the basement.
3-4 months. Yeah. That's cool.
It just was such a good environment. Just you're at home, you go upstairs, you get a drink, you come down, you get back to work, and just
no time crunch.
Yeah, just take all the time you need. Spent a whole summer right in Sunburn, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, that's really smart to do it like that. I mean, a lot of bands, like, I can't really think of too many bands that could actually pull that off. I mean, can you imagine, like, you know, Van Halen all living together, or like Kiss?
Well, for years we the only thing we knew about studio was like, it was basically like a boot camp. It's like, get ready, you're gonna play it live, and we want to do as little overdubs as possible, because that was just how we were kind of brought up in the music world. And so it was such a change in pace to be able to sit down and just like think about what you're gonna play more,
dig into the pre-production,
dig in, and, you know, do more, just
dig into the details, and like making sure that like you're giving the audience what they deserve to listen to,
and really dig deep and find out like what moves us. You know, even like through the recording process of this album, we were like, I'd say 70% done, and then we were like, you know, something came about when we were sitting on the front porch one summer night. You know, Nacho, our producer, was like, "What's that you're playing on your phone?" And, "Oh, it's a song that we were, you know, messing around with on, you know, some scratch tracks." And we're like, "We got to put it on the album," you know. So it's cool to be able to like pivot and like, you know, just really pull out everything that, you know, you're feeling for that project, and really get into it and do it. So
yeah, I want to go back to the origins of the band now. From what I've known of your band for quite a while now. And you originally started in Utica, New York, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, where Chad and I grew up.
Yep.
And then you are currently in Rochester, New York, right?
Yeah. It was pretty cool. Like we finished college here in Rochester, Chad and I, and you know, as the boys joined the band through that, you know, time frame, everybody started to come and like start moving in, whether we were in like, you know, apartment flat or something like that, until we finally got our, you know, our casa here. But we picked like Scott out of nowhere. Like he was just like this guy on this like rock and roll website that we were like, man, that guy looks like a rocker. Like when we don't care if he can play, he looks cool. We're in upstate New York, you're gonna find somebody with blonde hair and like that pouty face like that. Like he can learn guitar later if he doesn't know, but he was amazing. And Gunnar, he was super short early on, and had a short haircut.
And
He started eating his Wheaties and he grew a little bit. But,
Yeah, sprouted
Yeah,
up
so-
big time. Yeah.
these guys used to hate me back in the day because we played in different bands and stuff. I played with my dad, and then all of a sudden I joined the band, and now they like me.
That's a stretch.
So back to again, it's really unique that you guys are living together in the same house. So, is there like one person that's in charge of like doing the dishes, or is that like,
Exactly.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah. Everybody has their duties. Doesn't mean they do them all the time. Gunnar was supposed to be like the groundskeeper and dishwasher. But like I go out to my car in the morning and it's like covered with like 3 feet of snow, and I'm like, oh, Gunnar must have forgot about it. Scotty's guitar tech and art guy, so he does a lot of our artwork and all of our guitar teching. Chad's like, he's like our Swiss Army knife. He if he's not like figuring out some kind of like, Spotify terms and conditions, he's like clipping together some video or
making outfits.
And
then Danny's the guy who's doing all the business. He's like the businessman.
He's like a shit job. Yeah.
He's on the phone every 3 seconds, like trying to, book shows, do interviews, this and that, like doing the business. It's like
never
ending.
Yeah, it's amazing that you all kind of like have a talent where you're your own promotion team, you're your own management team. I mean, you have it all together. I mean, it's a very unique situation that your band has.
We really wanted to, try to see if we could stick it out doing a DIY. And that's still kind of like our goal. We're welcoming to working with resources. We've got a great film crew that we've worked with, and different people like that. But times have changed in the music industry a bit, and that old notion of these record deals, as and these companies has become a very different thing. And I think it's really cool to be able to have control over your decision making and your material, and be able to really steer your own ship. Of course, that affords you a lot more work that you have to do yourself, and investment, but maintaining like control over what your project is a pretty cool power to kind of hold and wield. So yeah.
And I would say about 95% of the bands I've interviewed all have like the same horrific story of that early in their career recording contract that they signed, that they spent like years trying to get out of. And so you guys were able to avoid that.
Yeah, fortunately we were. We had a little bit, we don't talk too much about it. We had a little bit of a learning lesson early on with, call it like a management situation. But I always look at everything like a glass half full. It's nice to be able to learn from some of those missteps early, as long as they don't have like a huge impact, like you alluded to. And then that stuff like that really woken us up to like, okay, it's more than just going out there and being rock stars. Like we really, if we want to do this the way we want, like we really need to learn the business. We need to learn the nuances of like what's going on, like how are people marketing themselves, what does it mean to book your own show, and keep track of your accounting and finances, so
it takes work. It's just, as a DIY band, you got to keep working. Like we have day jobs. We come home and it's just like working from the moment you come home from work to the moment you go to bed, and you're probably getting like 4 hours of sleep, which is totally fine, because this is what I get excited to do. This is what we're excited to do.
Rewarding. It's rewarding work for sure. And it really is. It's like a business, but it's a business that we're so proud of and excited to like just dig into like every day. So
yeah.
Did you have a lot of like major labels approach you, or major management approach you guys about signing contracts early on? I mean,
we've had our fair share of, opportunities with, record companies of, some different sizes along the way of our, because it's really kind of been like a 10-year thing that we've been doing here. But a lot of it, like I said, learning
the details of like what's in that offer. And it's like,
Yeah,
if they want to strip everything away from you, it's not worth it to us. It's like I'd rather keep having fun doing it than having someone tell me what I have to do.
Yeah, and I think that's like, like I said about the learning is like you start to see the pattern, at least, from the opportunities that had come and gone across our paths was like, a lot of the same kind of situations where like, hey, it's almost like you got that accolade, but like you don't have this and you don't get that. And, so I find it kind of cool though, like I said, like that we chose a little bit of a different path and it's helping us understand the business. So even if like we choose to work with, a group or a company later on, we at least have a perspective of what it takes to do things. And, we're more knowledgeable on it. Like, so somebody won't just come and say, oh, we're going to do this. We're like, no, I remember like what it takes to,
Reading fine
to
print.
do that. Yeah. So
Yeah, so 2024, I predict is going to be the year of Wicked. I mean, you guys have all the elements to be huge, and to be quite honest, I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's shocking to me, but I think it's coming around, man. I really do.
excited. We think so too. This is finally like we finally pierced that veil we've been holding really like closed and tight in terms of like really releasing music. And
I think that's the
I
key.
mean, we really had a rebrand around just post-COVID era.
yeah.
That's kind of when we parted ways with, like we said, the old management style, and we kind of went to a new DIY. We started to, really see that we can do everything ourselves, and actually it's way better when you do it, at least at the level we were at and the way we were working.
Become more creative, it's a fun environment and whatnot.
And I think like 2024, like not only with, the singles that are coming out going into, early next year and then the album drop, you've got this whole new like portfolio of music coming out. Then there's just more, we've already got another album after that in the bank,
yeah.
like 90% done. So, our whole thing is now we've started the train's rolling. We're going to apply the pressure and just keep doing it, and we can, because like we said, we're always together. So we could make the content and we could do the entertainment and we could write the music, and just keep up what we love to do and show the world, as we push it out, that we're here to stay. So,
Yeah. Tell the audience about some of the major bands that you guys played with over your career.
oh yeah.
Well, I mean, one that was recent, like a very fun gig was Steel Panther.
That was cool. Those guys were talented
and actually really nice guys backstage, like, giving advice and just kind of like, having just, down to earth, just chats about like our career and what we do. And, even afterwards, they made it a point to come out and say like how grateful they were to have us out and, opening up for them. But then like even, like we did Rocklahoma 2 years in a row, and we played with Kid Rock, Cheap Trick, GNR before Slash got back in the band. Like
that was a big festival. There's a lot on that bill.
Yeah.
Both years. And
I mean,
I played for the Stars.
I mean, we played with
We
members
played
of
with
the
Stars.
Stars, members of Angel. We played with
what was your favorite, Gunnar?
Oh boy. Oh shit.
John
Yeah,
Waite.
you got me on the spot.
John
now.
Waite.
one of our first
John
shows
Waite.
was with
One of
John
our first
Waite.
shows was with John Waite. That was pretty cool. Like as like young kids just starting, like having that opportunity and just that like, here comes John Waite backstage to say like you guys kicked butt. Like it was like, oh man, like how freaking cool.
Gunner's spinning right now. But what about Raven though? Like
Yeah, Raven was fun. I loved playing with Raven, but I think one of my fondest memories was when wasn't that show with at Debonair with that
Freely's comment.
Oh
yeah.
that's a great story because so Gunnar met his arch nemesis Jägermeister that night, and so we're playing with Freely's Comet, and we're sharing this really small green room behind the stage in New Jersey, and just the whole show, like Gunnar, one of our good friends and fans was like, thought of, I'm gonna get Gunnar tuned up. And you could just see it in the show. Like we're really professional about our live performances, but this night Gunnar got bamboozled, and the Jaeger got him, and he was turning white. End of the show, I'm like, come on, Gunnar, like
Well, all the songs you played like 20 beats slower. It went by so slow. And
I was like, what is
when
happening?
we get up
right
on
now?
stage to do the bow, and I whispered to Danny, "said I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna throw up everywhere." And then I get backstage, and I threw up everywhere. I landed in the bathroom. I looking at blasting
Half
the
in the
chocolate.
toilet.
Yeah.
Poor Freely's comment.
Yeah, that was my favorite show. So,
Every rock and roll band has a story like that. So it's just,
that'd be the last one. I won't let that shit happen again.
Doubt
He
it.
says now.
okay. So I want to ask each one of you guys individually if you could pick one band out there to open for, who would it be?
Oh shit, I love this.
Ooh.
Well, I think Scott would.
I would say, well, my all-time favorite band ever is Aerosmith, so that would be like a dream come true. Also, Third Eye Blind, Green Day.
Well, don't take them all, buddy.
Yeah,
one
I
band,
know.
one
He's
band,
like,
man, one
you're naming
band.
out 14.
Like, sorry.
Nothing against Green Day or Third Eye Blind, but I don't think they'd want to play after you would blow them off the stage.
I
I
don't
think-
think so
Nobody wants to
either.
play that.
That's the issue.
Nobody wants to.
I mean, honestly, like for me, just growing up and kind of following in my brother's steps, and I just saw like the other day, AC/DC just announced another world tour that they're doing in 2024. That would be the show that I would want to open up for.
That would be crazy.
Honestly, because those guys, they were the foundation of why we got into rock and roll in the first place, at least Danny and I. And to me, like playing with those guys is be like gods, you know?
That'd be sweet. What about you, Gunnar?
Oh shit. I think is it Dead or Alive? Can I pick
Oh,
you?
well, I think they would, unless they were like, you
I'll do
know,
both. I'll do one alive and one
if
dead.
they were like an avatar, then I mean, you could pick that.
They're alive. You talking
But
about?
No,
Oh,
no. So my live band, I would probably pick Alice Cooper because that was like my first concert. And then Dead, I would they're not Dead, but Phil Lynott. I would Thin Lizzy.
No, that's
like,
a good one.
yeah, I think
Which lineup?
Probably still
Which-
Danny's.
Which lineup though?
with Scotty and
Gary?
Gary. I think Gary would
Gary Moore?
Very more, yeah. So my band that I would love, and they just did like 4 shows, like a reunion, is the Marvelous Three. So Butch Walker's band after South Gang. I love it. Like, you know, they took like those guys were in South Gang doing the whole 80s rock thing. And they took like all that influence and what they were doing and just, you know, blended it with a little bit of a mix, kind of like a little bit of like what we're doing. And not only is Butch just like such a great producer and musician, but just a really cool dude. And I love like the recent 4 shows that they did, 2 in Atlanta and 2 in Chicago. You know, he brought up his son, and, you know, Jace on, you know, bass brought up his son, was playing guitar, and they just like, they're like real people, you know what I mean? And they're amazing songwriters and great entertainers. So I think like it would be super exciting to like, not only one, push yourself to have to like show up and live up to that like level, but like be able to, you know, do like a show and business and like be immersed by people who are just awesome to be around. So
Yeah.
but maybe one day we'll see. But
Yeah, I think, you know, anything's possible with you guys. I mean, like I said, I think you have all the elements. I mean, the only thing I think about is that they might be intimidated maybe by having a young, hungry band come out on stage and just like, you know, just
you
blow
come
them
across
away,
that
like I
every
said.
now and then.
Yeah.
we get a little bit of that roadblock every now and then, but
It's a good
it's a
problem
part
to
of it.
have.
It's a good problem to have.
I think they also think we're going to be like wild and crazy. I mean, in a negative way, which we kind of do that sometimes, but it's always with love and positivity. It's like we try not to get in fights all the time. It's usually not our fault if we do.
Well, after witnessing one, I don't know. I've seen you guys, met you guys like twice, and you've gotten to one fight so far. So it's 50%.
We love to say, people always say either you're in a band or you're wrestlers, and we say we're both.
There you go. Yeah, that's convincing. I want to end the interview by talking about the band that everyone's been sort of talking about for the last like couple weeks, and that's Kiss with their farewell tour coming to a close this last Saturday. What type of influence were they for you? And you have an interesting Kiss story. I remember reading or seeing online that you guys actually met Vinnie Vincent
Yeah, that
like
was so cool.
the day that he did his out of 20-year retirement appearance. Tell us a little bit about that experience for you guys.
That was fun because we drove all the way down to Atlanta. We
Yeah.
and we had a booth where we were kind of like we were moving, we're walking around,
The
meeting
dudes
people
from
and
Three
whatnot.
Sides of the Coin, yeah.
Yeah, and but with Vinny, it was really cool because one of his security guards, they thought we were like someone different, and they went into Vinny. They're like, "Hey, there's a group here that wants to see you," and there was a line that must have been like hours long waiting.
It
just
was
to get-
around the hotel. Around
Yeah.
the whole hotel.
and he's like, "Bring him in," and like we walked in. He's like, "You guys look like a young, hungry band." He's like, "This is incredible. I haven't seen this in I don't know how long," and just like telling us stories of
We traded some like funny stories of like, oh yeah, like you've been in the men's room and someone thought you were a girl and like got all weird and walked out. Like that happens to us too. Like yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, doing a lot of the KISS conventions was a big part of our career in the past several years.
We've met a lot of really good people, made a lot of lifelong friendships,
and so that's a heavy part of the KISS story for us. And then of course, like we said, like KISS is always like that band that like really like did such good job in their business and their entertainment that it's cool to like learn and like admire and take stuff from an influence like that over the years. And of course, like everybody right away, like, oh, you guys used to wear the 7-inch platforms and stuff, and we actually got that not directly from KISS, but from like just that 70s like style that like all those guys were immersed in, but KISS took it to that whole other level, right? But lest we not forget about, like we mentioned earlier, like the Stars and these bands that were contemporaries and made amazing music and were like all these like very like close degrees of a separation from KISS back in the day in the Casablanca years. And so that's been a big part of our career, and it's pretty cool to see KISS just like really bring like this final tour to like the level they did at the age they are. More power to them.
crazy.
Like,
yeah.
So let me ask you, what do you think about their avatar concept?
I don't know, man. It's pretty cool that they're coming up with something like that, but I don't know if it could replace a live show.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it'll be interesting going into like this new era of what they're doing.
I think it's a little cringe, to be honest with you.
I think they don't want to it from as a fan perspective. It
It's
sucks.
cool to
It
let it
sucks
live
when
on,
when
yeah.
a band like is finally done.
Yeah.
Especially a band that you grew up with, through their whole career, basically like, I only for a portion of my life, obviously have been following KISS, but for people who have been with them since, the moment go, like KISS Army, like that's kind of cool to see it go on. I'd be curious to see how it works. I just, in my opinion, like as a young kid, like, in a band doing a DIY, I just love to go out and see new bands. I love to see people who are going to be carrying the torch as like writing new music. Like, with the avatars, they're probably going to be playing the same music that you always go to see, which is great. And it might just be a whole different like lane that like, now I just want to go see a KISS concert like I always used to. But there always has to be that torch carrying rock and roll, otherwise it's going to die. So we need bands like, Wicked and, other bands that are contemporaries right now to, kind of emerge and have those fans support them as well. So that we can, move past this whole like R&B,
I like the other day, actually, Scotty was like, oh, I don't know, like that's cringe. Like, and I'm like, yeah, man, wait till we're at that level and we're doing our final tour. And then you're going to be like, what, why can't we do avatars too? So like, we joke about that stuff too. Like that perspective, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it changes like at whatever point in life you're in, but
I think it's also you got to put yourself in their shoes too. I don't think they want it to end.
Yeah,
as much as they probably can't physically do
all
it
that
anymore.
work that they put into it, like to be able to have it live on in some kind of form or fashion is definitely like one for a lot of us, like a big thing of why we do music is to leave a mark, right? And like what a cool way to make sure your mark like has some life in it
past the merchandise. Yeah, like you keep the music going in a way. I mean, in my opinion, when I'm older, if I can't sing or move around anymore, maybe I would do the same thing. Who knows, you know?
All I know is all these old guys better get out of the way. 'Cause
Are they going to use Peter and Ace or what? Are they going to use Tommy and Eric?
It's Tommy and Eric.
Boy.
Oh boy.
Put
yes.
Eric back in Alice Cooper where he belongs.
Yeah, maybe he might go back there, but he doesn't need to. I mean, he's
No,
multi-billionaire. I'm sure.
Thousand
A thousand
watches.
watches.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. I mean, I knew this was going to be an entertaining interview, and you know,
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
A pleasure as always.
yeah, we have to get you guys out to Buffalo. It's just an hour ride down the throughway. Come on, man.
We're coming back soon.
No snow though. I'm
Yeah,
not doing
you
that
guys hold
out
the
there.
snow, and then
You
we'll be
keep
there.
the snow.
All right. I guess we'll see you in June then. All right, guys. Thanks again, and best of luck to you, man.
Thank you. Rock
Thanks,
on.
brother.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.